Welcome back to IDFC First Bank Presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 13, powered by Tata Tele Business Services. You're watching highlights from our recently concluded Pune Springboard. In this segment, we bring you a special keynote presentation by Vishal Rally, Chief Revenue Officer, Tata Tele Services, highlighting how Pune is leading the way in skill development, innovation and growth. Listen in.
Very excited to be out here in Pune. Always been thought about as the center of education, but I think Pune has moved on very swiftly into becoming the innovation hub for the country. We are a digital solutions company, and our whole and sole focus is on small and medium enterprises. We only service small and medium enterprises for those digital services. Now, over the last 2 decades or so, we have serviced around 50,000 customers, and this is not a one-time product or service that we sell to them, but it's a continuous service day in, day out, month after month, year after year. And we have created possibly one of the largest ecosystem in the digital space to service small and medium enterprises through an ecosystem of 1,000+ partners, our own employees, as well as digital platforms. I'm going to touch a little bit about the macro view first, and then go down a little bit on micro in terms of giving some customer case studies as well. Most of us probably know MSMEs, there are about 70 million. It's a big number. They employ about 90% of all employment is generated by MSMEs. The contribution to GDP is about 30%, and the contribution to exports is around 45-50%. So keep these numbers in mind: 90% of employment, 30% of India's GDP. And when you compare this with large enterprises, 10% of employment, 70% of the GDP. So if you do a quick maths, you will see that a large enterprise employee is 20 times more productive than a SME employee, which also means that there is so much more headroom. So there is so much more opportunities for SMEs. While the opportunity is huge, there are challenges, right, that SMEs face. Some of it Sazia did touch upon, including things like, the funding, the financial availability. Second bit, in terms of digital talent, most of the digital talent were towards large enterprises, right? Probably SMEs don't get the best of digital talent that there is. Market access, in terms of physical as well as digital market access, and also in terms of deployment of technology tools. See, it so happens that most of the supply side, which is the technology service providers or technology creators, actually create technology solutions keeping large enterprise in mind. And then they kind of force fit down to SMEs. It's like hand-me-down. You make something for large enterprises and say, okay, maybe SMEs can make use of this as well. And that also has been a challenge in terms of the understanding of the unique challenges of SMEs. Even more so, because SMEs is not one cohort. It's not homogeneous. There are several different sub-segments within SMEs. One size fit all does not work for this segment. And this is something that potentially many of the service providers miss out on. So what we have done is, with the deep insights from tens of thousands of these customers, we have created a tech stack which is designed for SMBs. And not only just SMBs, but uniquely designed for the requirements of those individual subsegments, which is micro, semi-medium, and medium. Any tech stack has to solve for 2 problems. The technology promise for 2 problems. One, when there is a downturn, bad times, how to be resilient. And one, when you have tailwinds, how are you going to maximize and monetize the opportunity and solve for scale? Otherwise, any technology solution, if it doesn't even do these 2 basics, it makes absolutely no sense. Quickly going into the key trends or key technologies, right? These are the key 3 technologies which are driving the business forward. So one being digitization, some of them not new, some of them probably newer. Digitization, cloud, and AI. I'm not going to get into the theoretical aspects of any of these, what I'll do is I'll use some customer case studies, some of our own customers, in terms of how they have used some of these technologies and these platforms and our technology stack to enhance their business outcomes. If you look at digitization, like I said, it's not new. Started with large enterprises, it's been there for many years. And many of the SMEs have also actually kind of started using digitization in some form or shape. Now, there are many ways where customers have kind of looked at it. The start point could have been very, very different. Now, somebody who has potentially a payables problem or collections problem, they have looked at only those payable workflows to kind of automate. But in our experience, the organizations who have benefited the most are the ones who have kept customer at the center of everything. The customer centricity, customer experience is the start point, and then doing digitization around it. And just to give an example, example from Pune, Bharati Vidyapeeth, I'm sure all of us are aware about. For them, students are at the center of everything that they do. Now, whether in terms of the student engagement or in terms of student enrollment, they had a very disjointed kind of communication platform. We worked very closely with the customer here and designed the entire solution and customized it for them, which is a solution which we'll call SmartFlow. It is a cloud communication suite. It kinds of brings in all forms of communication together. So what do I mean by all forms? Now, there are medium of communication, right? So there is voice, there is video, there is SMS, there is WhatsApp, there is chat, any form of communication, all of them gets integrated at one place. That got integrated with Bharati Vidyapeeth's CRM. So everything that was going through was a platform-led approach. Anytime a particular conversation needed to happen with student, the subject matter expertise within Bharati Vidyapeeth is the one which was going straight into that versus going through various levels and so on. Another one, a leading logistics company. Now, this company essentially had multiple branches, some small depots, some bigger branches, and so on and so forth, all over the country. And they had this single point connectivity failure at every location. Also, their employees were tied to the desk. Single point of failure, connectivity goes, the entire location, depot, branch is down. In terms of even application prioritization, suppose you're doing a video call, you want more bandwidth to be given to that. Fourth, security, in terms of no security applications deployed. So what we did for this customer is we deployed a complete managed secure network as a solution or network as a service. We deployed an SD-WAN, secure SD-WAN solution. We put a managed Wi-Fi. We put dual connectivity options, which also allowed the IT administrator within this organization to actually manage remote branches sitting at one location itself and also pushing through which application should be given more priority in terms of bandwidth allocation and so on and so forth. Suddenly, their entire operations completely changed over, and also all those LAN cables were just thrown out because the managed Wi-Fi system were all there. So it's a neat and clean office as well. Quickly, cloud, I think cloud has been one of the, or cloud technology as such, has been one of the biggest leveler actually for SMEs. I think this is, with cloud technology, all of us know, right? It's like CapEx light, low CapEx, no CapEx. Even in OpEx, it's not like you're committing on spends. With cloud technology, you can start very, very low, pay as you use, pay as you grow kind of a thing. Plus, it gives you redundancy because your applications could be hosted in multiple clouds, geography redundancy as well. You don't need too many technical experts to manage it because it is a managed solution. I think cloud technology as such helps even SMBs from tier 2 and tier 3 to compete effectively with large enterprises. In offices, typically, you deploy PBXs, you deploy phone lines, you take from telecom providers, telephone lines and so on and so forth will come in your offices, and there's just too much of infra floating around in your office, right? Plus, it is a CapEx heavy model, and it goes through replacement cycle. After 3 or 4 years, you change. So you again deploy another round of CapEx, probably costs have gone up of hardware, and so on and so forth. And what we have deployed here essentially is a SmartFlow UCaaS solution, which is a unified communication solution. It's integrated with Microsoft Teams, and it runs from combination of Tata Tele Cloud as well as Microsoft Cloud jointly. So what it has done for Sulzer, essentially, is kind of kept that whole CapEx thing away, easy to manage, easy to add more employees without deploying any of the infra and CapEx into kind of replacement cycle and so on. I don't have to talk about AI. I mean, we all understand this is probably the biggest technology innovation of our lifetime, maybe. Yeah, I don't know what else will come beyond us. But we know this is going to change everything, literally. Yeah, the way we do business, yeah, a new paradigm completely. But again, here there is a fallacy that, AI is meant for large enterprises. Yeah, you should have your own LLMs, SLMs. No, nobody's asking anybody to create your own large language models and so on and so forth. Not needed. There are many smart tools and solutions on OpenAI where you could deploy it, experiment with it, and so on as SMEs with very little investment. And I will give you an example which will tell you how this gets deployed as well. And just like cloud, I think AI could be one of that biggest leveler in terms of how SMEs can compete right up there with any businesses, whether in India or abroad. So quickly getting into one of the case studies here. This is a healthcare technology company. Essentially, I'll give you an example. So, typically, I'm not talking about big hospitals. These are clinics, small clinics. I'm sure all of us have seen it, if not kind of visited. So typically, chain of small clinics. And their customers typically come from the neighborhood, right? Typically, like 80-90% are there. And then there are doctors, right? Doctors come in, and sometimes these doctors, unlike hospitals, they are not like permanent employees or something. They come for a few hours, then they go to another clinic or go to another hospital and so on and so forth. So every time, a patient will come in, the doctor has to understand all of the history and everything in terms of tests, this, that, which medications and so on and so forth. So that entire information through OpenAI in a secured way on the cloud of patient records was automated fully, completely. Every time the patient comes in, the doctor does not even take, or rather takes even less than 2 minutes, because the entire history gets collated just before the patient walks in and tells the gender, the age, the various tests, various medications, and the entire history, so that the doctors can spend more time with the patient. The human element of it is getting driven, saying that is what doctor is supposed to do. Live, deployed, working excellent, and it can work for each of your companies. So in conclusion, essentially, MSME segment is vast, 70 million. Opportunity is huge, 30% GDP, going all the way to 50-55% GDP. Technology is going to be the key lever which will help you unlock this potential. And like I said earlier, you don't have to deploy the entire technology stack. Start small, right? Start small and build on it. Choose the right partner. Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks.